So
That's
nothing.
the way I like it.
Peace to the planet. You know what it is? Adisa the Bishop chilling. Always talking about martial arts and philosophy. And this summer I did one of the coolest things I've done in a long time, and I've done some pretty cool things in the summer. But I was at Afro Bushido Academy in Redwood City, and we did this incredible program with Carlos Levexier and Miss Mariana right there with the freshest braids on the West Side right now. The freshest, man. And of course the cornerstone of the whole thing, Rahman Jamal. Bro, welcome all of you to Bishop Chronicles, and let's kind of talk about the program, how you put it together, and the outcomes. Because I think for people who wonder about martial arts and kids, um, this program was pretty powerful.
Yeah. Well, first off, I got to shout out Hip Hop Congress because this is an organization that gave me access to all of y'all. If it wasn't for my engagement in that network, my path would, might have still crossed paths, but not in the capacity that we were able to come together. And so, a lot of I've known you the longest, Adisa, going all the way
Yeah.
back to 2007.
Yeah, yeah.
Even before that, that was just 2007 was when we
When it
had
got official. True.
consideration at the Rikers Center, which is
Yeah,
right
yeah.
in this community, and we were working there and trying to kind of do this same type of
Type of
stuff
stuff. Yeah.
there. But when you're under the roof of another organization that has their own vision and their limitations of vision, you can do the work, but for it to take root can often take other routes and whatnot. So to have a space that we control, that
Huge.
no, there's no one to answer to. It's us. What do we
Right.
bring to it? Is really like this has been a long time coming, and the chess pieces have aligned themselves, if you will, to allow
Yeah, yeah.
us to have taken this space and create what it is that we did. So we called it Camp Dojo, spelled with three D's. We had discipline, well, decision making. Okay, Miss Mariana is our decision making dojo sensei.
That's right. That's right.
I got to give a shout out, major shout out to you, Mariana. Not only because I want you to twist my hair at some point, um, but because the proposal that we put together, may not have gone through if it wasn't for your support and your generosity. You had hit me up, just kind of on an informal tip, letting me know, that you saw what we were doing down here and that you would wanted to contribute to the environment here, and it just so happened to align with um, the proposal process that I was in with the Sheriff's Activities League. Shout out to Sheriff Christina Corpus, for wanting to see if we could create a program. Originally, it was supposed to be a women's defense program, but then
That's right. That's right.
we were talking about that, Adisa, like how we could come together with that. But then there was a pivot right before summer, and she was like, you know what, maybe a youth program would be easier to put together and get people out. So we did that, and when it just so worked out that Mariana, I had this opening for this month, the monthly events that we do. We try to do monthly community events or workshops or something for the community, and you were available on the day that I had available, and we were able to use that as like hard evidence of, because it's hard to propose a program when people don't have any frame of reference, right? Like, oh yeah, it sounds good, but are you really what you
Right.
are selling and all of that? And so we had Mariana out in May 30th, I believe, and she just knocked three workshops out the park, different age levels, bringing her decision making art to our studio, and we were able to use that to kind of leverage the expansion of this project of bringing you know not just the decision making internal arts, but then the defense aspect and the discipline aspect with the jujitsu and the wrestling, and so a lot of this thing coming together really was just felt very, very much uh, coordinated, divinely coordinated, if you will, like, elements of timing working out that
Yeah.
we couldn't have forced if we tried all our might. It was allowed to happen, and it was enabled to happen on so many different levels, and we were just able to come together and just bring our expertise. And now this has helped me as an organization start new programs. So we just had our first community wrestling class just afternoon, and we're offering it to the community as a program that we're gonna be making available to the families here. A lot of them can't afford the extra training and stuff, but this needs to be a service that's available to them. And we're in the richest county in the state, one
Yeah,
of
where is Afro Bushido Academy? Like, let everybody know where it's at, like geographically, like the address and everything.
So we're in the North Fair Oaks community of Redwood City, which is in San Mateo County, and we're right off of the Woodside exit off of 101, near the Costco, that area. But yeah, it's largely immigrant families. It's an unincorporated area of Redwood City, so its jurisdiction is the sheriff's department, and so a lot of the community often gets kind of left out of the money funnels and where money is directed and stuff. So we're right in the heart of it, and I've been here for about 3 years, coming up to now.
That's cool, man. So, Mariana, as far as the decision making goes, after you connected with Rahman, like what was your vision, and tell me what you experienced once you got your vision and to go.
So I have been teaching on what is not mine to own, but is for all of humanity, and that is the ancient intelligence, which when we rewind back to the cradle of, civilization, we're looking at African intelligence. And so the traditions that I've been raised in is to honor them and to bring them beyond theory and fascination when we look at ancient cultures that have educated and supplied the world with the resources that everybody wants to get their paws on, their fingers on. It's our job to take it beyond theory and take it beyond being exploited and capitalized, and revisiting those concepts and how they can be applied to our lives in a practical way. So when I'm working with young adults or people of all ages, any type of facilitation, I carry that with me. And so that form of AI, that form of ancient intelligence, is something that I value immensely, and it's been a cornerstone to helping me throughout my human growth and development. And what I found is, like, a lot of the times, when I'm teaching and when I'm at these conferences and conventions, and everybody's talking about the best practices, there's all of these romanticized versions of what to do to be healthier, and that even has gotten like pimped out too, like the health
Yeah.
sector. And so what I realize is, like, I'm not trying to sell anything. All I'm trying to do is revisit the ancient intelligence, the original AI that guided us with the morals, the values, and the principles that we need for decision making, for stepping into our life path, for cultivating ourselves to be self reliant, for honoring our social wellness, our mental health, and our emotional hygiene. And so I don't really have to go all over the place if I just go down to what the ancestors threw down. And, of
Right.
course, I remix that because, I'm able to present it in the social emotional languages and apply it to whatever age group or, collective I'm working with. That's what I do. And so that's what happened the first time I was able to have the opportunity to serve at Afro Bushido Academy. And, I reached out to brother. I look at it as tithes and offering, right? So if I see an organization or a collective that I can get to reasonably, and I'm not going to throw down actual money because I'm preparing for a cashless society. I believe in bartering and exchanging. And then in the areas where I know I can hit folks who got the budget, I will, right?
Right.
So
Right. Right. Exactly.
I was just like, yo, I love what you're doing. I love what you stand for. And I love that you work with young people. What's good? Can I offer a workshop? And he might not have realized it, but that was my tithe and offering. And that blossomed into him having my back. And when it was time to negotiate his contract with this larger collective with all of you there, he's like, not only do I want to bring you back, but I can throw down for you. And so
Yeah,
that's the way we take care of each other in community. That's how we activate our gifts and talents, and we gift it. But when we share those blessings, it multiplies. I be having stuff coming tenfold from 10 years ago that I
yeah, no,
implemented.
it's
So
real.
that was a beautiful experience to work with you all there on a larger capacity. And I'd like to, say, the youth that were there, they were so, their appetite for learning was fierce. Like they were so happy to be there, so grateful and appreciative. And so that's just another gift within it. It's one thing to teach young people, but it's another thing to teach young people that are thirsty for the knowledge
I want it.
and respect it. So yeah, that's my reflection on just how the introduction began and how I was able to come in the fold with you in the family.
It was really cool, especially the first day. Mariana, it just has like a really strong way to connect with kids early, you know what I mean? So the kids were chilling, they were into it. And like I told people before, I've taught elementary school, I've taught junior high, I've taught high school, and I even teach jujitsu to toddlers in universities. And there's always somebody who don't want to do something. But this was really interesting because all of the kids wanted to be involved. And I thought that was incredible because I think anybody who's involved with teaching, especially public school teaching, but at any level, charter school, whatever, like focus and drive are really low. And
Mhm.
so it often happens that what you normally would spend as teaching time actually becomes class management stuff because, hey, put that down. You guys stop doing that, whatever. And we didn't have any of that. All of the kids were into it. Like every single kid was into it. And it felt like it made all of the conversations, everybody's sections that they had to do it like infinitely easier because there was almost zero class management necessary. The quality of the kids was unbelievable. It was powerful. Carlos, so Carlos is a legend, a legendary wrestler and a legendary wrestling coach. Hey, I see that essay. He's from San Francisco. Let's get the story behind that jersey though.
Mm.
Well, this jersey, on my birthday, August 17th, I went down to the field.
Yeah, there you go.
And I went down to the field and they had a custom jersey. And this was like for something like you talk about things happening from a long time ago. This is coming from the SF Prep Hall of Fame,
Okay.
where a long time ago I went undefeated in the San Francisco section for 4 years, ninth grade through 12th grade.
Yeah.
And so I'm just, they're just, I'm in San Francisco State Hall of Fame and the Balboa Hall of Fame, but the SF Prep is like all of the schools,
Yeah.
so they did this, and they have also a luncheon that's coming up on the 27th that's connected to that. But yeah, so that's the story of this jersey. But the story of this camp was that, man, I was so pleasantly surprised in terms of just the spirit of the camp. And we had a lot of questions. Miss Mariana put together questions and got the feedback, and she was masterful in the whole thing. And I was thinking about the questions, and I was like, you know what was really different from this camp? I wanted to answer the questions about the staff that I worked with. You know what I mean? And like right now to say, okay, how she came out from the beginning. She came from the beginning and the end to wrap it up. And she came and she went to know thyself, and she sat all of these youth down and us.
Yeah.
And pierced all of the layers of fakeness, basically, and got to, you know what I mean, beyond that to the internal, and you know what I mean, and did that, and that set off the camp. And then it allowed us to see, like, okay, we just every day, I did an hour, you did an hour, you did an hour,
Yeah.
and it was the craziest hours of like people being able to go home and say, I grew today, on some self-defense, some self built on the self-knowledge and got some self-defense for real, physically, spiritually, mentally,
Artistically.
emotionally, artistically. And so, you know, when I saw that, and just like right now, as I'm looking at this picture and seeing these same people, I'm like, whoa, it really is a crazy mix of expertise.
It was so nuts, man. It was so nuts, you know.
And Pop Tart too.
Yes,
Yeah,
that.
Pop Tart was killing it with, you know what I mean?
Definitely.
And that's who was on my mind when I said artistically, you know what I mean? Because Pop Tart is a legendary dancer from San Francisco, and he would come and have these kids who I don't even know if they ever danced before in their lives. He had them doing whole routines. He had them doing whole routines like within the hour,
You know,
not on peak, within the hour.
I knew him since he was about 11 or something. We grew up in the Fillmore, and and you know he has been dynamic ever since. You know what I mean? We've been in it. So yes, he came and he cracked some of the kids that had like emotional issues. They needed a minute and stuff like that. There was this one kid that helped the other little kids, and they was like, "What did you do?"
Yeah,
Yeah, I think I got that from you. And he was like, well, I just let him know that I was going to be over here and that I wasn't going anywhere. You know, as he said, that's what I do to my friends. You know what I mean? Once I
yeah.
let them know that, look, I'm not going anywhere. So, you know,
It was very powerful, man. It was very powerful.
It was
Um,
beautiful.
yeah, that was,
but
I was like to say one other thing real quick is that what was the crazy, the divinity in it? It was that 2 weeks before, 3 weeks before, I was talking to my aunt and she had me like go look up. She said, well, let me show you my goddaughter. And she showed me and had to be look at these links. And I looked at them and I was like, whoa, that's impressive. But I didn't feel like it was relevant to me. I was like, where's this person from? She's like, Sacramento. I was like, okay, but I'm from down here. But it's good to see. Then all of a sudden, bam, that was Miss Mariana. It was like
that's so crazy.
couple weeks later, bam, she's like, okay, running things. And I'm like, I thought that wasn't relevant, but it was.
Ah,
Yeah.
that was the end. That was the prequel. You know what I'm
Yeah,
saying?
Auntie was just letting you know what was in your future. That's all.
Yeah, that was crazy.
That telepathy is strong in the matriarchs. But I have to. It would be a disservice to not really highlight that when we began to formulate this experience and we were shaping it up, in addition to ancient intelligence, African intelligence, one thing that I'm really focused on in this chapter and teaching is, what are the healthy practices, not just the best practices, but the healthy practices for honoring matriarchal leadership. Like, what does
Yeah,
it feel like? And what does that look like? And what does that sound like? Because
yeah,
there is, a great balancing that has to occur. And so, a lot of the times within societies, when it's been run by patriarchy for so long, right? And then when, all the alignment and all the things start happening, it has to swing like a pendulum to the other side. And
mhm,
and we've seen that, right? We've
yeah,
seen some extreme behaviors and social, cultural, subcultures, all these things that tend to um try its best to embody what being a woman is, right? As opposed to simply just honoring women and what does it look like and feel like for them to be in leadership. And so a lot of the times there's resistance,
right,
especially when you're a melanated woman, a woman of African descent. A lot of times people really don't know how to respond to that kind of strength and power, right? And so I have to, like I said, it would be a disservice for me to not honor you all in this moment because when we were laying it out, I was like, well, look, I'm the only woman in this collective. How you feel about jumping it off with some of that divine feminine energy, right? To really open up the minds, open up the hearts, do some nurturing. And yes, it's firm too. And that's what I mean by a lot of the times when people are in a position of leadership and women, they're looking for us to comfort them and coddle them a lot of the times. And they don't know what it feels like to be nurtured in a very strong and powerful way without feeling disrespected or without having like some of those historical isms and schisms sprout out. and
right,
and you all were very open to that, and I want to let you know that as much as it is important for women in leadership to step up, a big part of that is having our brothers being able to receive that leadership and then model what that looks like in duality when we're working with humanity, when we're working with children, when we're working with community. And you were all very brilliant. And I feel like I was very embraced. Like it was a spiritual hug every time I came into the space, because it wasn't a competition. It was like you get in where you fit in, and that is the ebb and flow of what true community pedagogy is. It's no competition, there's no hierarchy, but that requires men who have done the internal work to know and receive what that feels like. And you are all just beautiful and magnificent in that. And at any time, even when it was time to quote unquote discipline, I knew you had my back in that, because the kids weren't like running amok, but kids are
Yeah,
kids.
yeah, yeah.
Young adults are young adults. They're gonna get excited. They're gonna forget the order of things. And there was just such a positive, constant reinforcement. And I just want to tell you all, thank you so much, because this is a reflection of the type of men that I want to work with in community. And you did that so strong and eloquently, and I'm grateful for that.
No, it
Well,
was cool. Everything was really in balance, the whole time. And I think a lot of it too has to do with just like the removal of the ego to let like the best things just happen. You know what I mean? And like not try to impose a vision on it. But at the same time, everything had structure. It was really it was really wild. Rahman, you what was that thing you were teaching when you were showing the front kick and the back kick, and you would like switch the hips, and then you had them match it to music. What was that? Remember when you had them doing when they would bounce, and yeah, and then they'd switch side? Oh my God.
yeah.
That was such a cool
Well,
thing, man.
before I answer that, I just wanted to respond to, Mariana, your energy allowed us to feel safe in that space, and it means a lot to hear that you as well, because part of Afro Bushido Academy and the vision that I had for this space was, bringing back the Afro Indigenous um, experience of, we're in our modern society, we're often so far removed from how humanity was in balance with nature, for thousands of years. And
Mhm.
so, we were just talking about this earlier. It feels like what's happening here is a reintroduction of the natural order. And, one of those things that I carry with me as being part Cherokee is that the American indigenous perspective views is matriarchal, and views the divine feminine as the gateway to the spiritual and the sacred. And so the fact that you embody that so thoroughly just allows us to just kick back and just like, wow, like just soak it all in. So, you really have added to this space as a sacred space. I wanted this space to become a temple, for the community, for all of us. And so we were just
Hey, I say.
that out. But yeah, so and part of that, going back to your question, so um, I've been lucky in growing up to have the support of adults when I was a youth, to try all different types of things. So I was doing sports, but I was doing music, and I was doing theater and acting, and dance, and all of these things. And society is like, our Western society is structured to say, well, you got to pick one if you want to,
Yeah.
make it in make a living at it or whatnot. And that, that doesn't really like match up with my spirit. I was like, why do I got to pick one? And I had to make
Yeah, totally.
conscious decision when I was going into, adulthood, and having to look at my career trajectory, to be like, which path am I going to take? And I chose education, actually, because it was broad enough of a topic to where I didn't have to like just pick like music, or pick
Hmm.
or one of these buckets. It's like education is everything, right? And you know being so so part of what, this is a manifestation of too, for me, is this new kind of movement of cultural education that is, you know, some people know it as hip hop education, but it's culturally based education. It goes back to our indigenous traditions, our ancestors, how they did things. Like it wasn't this, industrialized, sit at a desk type of learning. It
Hmm.
the cipher, it was the circle, it was wrestling, it was physical, it was musical, it was spiritual, it was all of these things all together in one. And so part of what am feel very lucky to be able to explore and reintroduce to today's generation is this overlap of things that most people in our society would see as separate. And so like when it comes from like martial arts and like learning how to fight, right? There's all these sayings from multiple cultures, whether it's like the Vikings or Chinese, whatever they say, things to the effect of don't put a sword in a person's hand if they can't dance,
Right.
or the person who can't dance can't fight. And so it's like, okay, these are sayings that like go like way back in history, but what is that connection? Where are those connections? And so, one is, yes, you can look at it, oh, you got to be quick on your feet and be able to move and things like that. But also too, the aspect of having music, having the drum, where does that fall into, whether it was, warriors the war drum, to get everybody's like energy up before they go into battle, but also like deeper things and all these pieces of information like start hitting my feed or whatnot. Like, they one of the things that in the African tradition, I forget which group it was, but the philosophy of before you go into battle, you have this great festival, this party where you dance. And what that does is it reminds you of what you're fighting for. It reminds
Mhm.
you of this joy that you're fighting to preserve. And so one that was really deep for me. And then being a competitor, and even you brought it up in the camp, like the whole fact of like it can take 400 reps to build a synapse in the brain for something, but it only takes 20 reps if you're having fun. And
Yeah.
what is that fun factor? I
Okay.
mean, it's in our DNA. You put music that inspires you, and then you line up your movements to that music. Now you're having fun, and it doesn't feel like exercise. It's just
Doesn't feel like work. It doesn't feel like, yeah.
yeah. And so I've been able to like I started off by incorporating dance through the strutting through Lonnie Green. Teaching our traditional form is the form that he created, that universal step that brings people into the world of boogaloo roboting and strutting. And very, very similar to martial arts synchronized forms in that competitive division. In fact, it's crazy because you look at the top martial arts demo teams now, and it's choreography. I mean, it's straight up,
Yeah.
it's so choreographed to the music that it's like this is dance, and that wasn't always the case. Like you would get you would lose points if your kata was like too dance heavy. Like
Yeah.
tried to blend it earlier, and it's like martial arts was too rigid to allow that to happen. That's slowly starting to change, but at the root of it is that these things are linked so deeply together. And so I created a basically took our footwork techniques from point sparring, which is very bouncy. You got to be on the balls of your feet, and you got to be able to switch, and you got to be able to step at certain angles and create different angles. And I'm like, what if we just put this to, I find a song that has that right rhythm that
That bounce. Yeah.
and I started incorporating it. It was crazy because it worked so well.
Kids took to it so quick. It was crazy.
And
Crazy.
now it's like you put on that song, and you can do it to any song. You can do it to the song of the hour, or the cultural anthem, or what's hot for a
Yeah.
person. And now they're just like, they're challenged, they're having fun, and they're getting better.
Yeah. No, it was great. It was great.
we're merging the dance world and the martial arts world and just finding all sorts of amazing overlap, because at the end of the day, it's all about self-development.
Yeah. Now, Carlos, you know, I've told people before, like you were always kind of like a legend. People always talked about you, but I always missed you. You were kind of like the Loch Ness monster. Every time I showed up, you were gone, but then somebody just saw you. You know what I'm saying? It was like, so we never got to kick it until a year or two ago. But on top of my admiration for you as a wrestler, like you have a great understanding of grappling history, wrestling history, and the way that you look at philosophy around wrestling is truly innovative. Could you talk for a minute about the term you often use, civil arts as opposed to martial arts? Like, how did you come to that conclusion, and why is it important that people know the civil arts?
Yeah. All right. Well, let's in terms of wrestling, right? It's one of those things. If you took out uh people orchestrating our civilization and pointing it in this way or that, you go back to the beginning. I always tell people that wrestling, like I'm a PE, I did a PE teacher, and volleyball, they tell you who invented it, when, a couple hundred years ago, basketball, all of that. But wrestling, no man created it. It created man, all women, all animals, even an egg that was that a cell, when it divided to turn into two cells, that's like a wrestling match. That's an escape. You know what I mean? So we're all, the Big Bang is a wrestling match between elements. You know what I mean? All of us came from successful wrestlers.
That's
You
deep.
nasty.
She said you nasty.
All of us came from successful wrestlers. For successful wrestling, we wouldn't be here. No.
My mom was a good wrestler.
And so that's what it really is like. It's like when you do it, what happened with the history of wrestling is like in terms of sport. Like I have books and stuff, like they talk about wrestling transcending sports. It's like this book, Last of the Nuba. It's all torn up. But they have a whole chapter when they did their society. One whole chapter was devoted to wrestling.
What is Nuba wrestling, and who are the Nuba people, for those that don't know?
So the Nuba people are right where they divided Sudan and South Sudan. When South Sudan became a country, but the Nuba was in the mountains and they stayed in Sudan. And instead of leaving with their people, the South Sudanese, which is the tallest people in the world and stuff like that. And they are really tall people. And in their tradition, they lived up in the mountains and they wrestle, and they bring the whole villages together through wrestling. So when South Sudan, the youngest country, became a country and became independent from Sudan, they had a big wrestling tournament from all of the villages. They got AKs and stuff, but they knew that they returning to that ancient civilization and ancient intelligence was what they needed to do to create pride in each other. Like, okay, we go to this big tournament, we see these people wrestling, we know, wow, they beat our warriors and stuff like that. So now they became guests of honor in our village. You know what I mean? They could come by. That's and beautiful. Respected them. And so that's the first thing they did with their independence. So, just going back, every civilization had wrestling, because if you weren't doing it civilly, you were doing it martially. Now I proved that I could beat you, but you're dead. But what if I prove that my strength and power, but you still live? Right. But that's why it's a civil art. That's why it's a civil art. I got another book right here that goes. It's a book from Benny Hassan.
Benny Hassan. That is important. Tell people about Benny Hassan, because I've known about it for decades, but many don't. They still don't.
Right. So basically, there's a mountain of rock in Beni Hassan, and everybody carved.
Where's that? Where is it?
It's like 1 hour south of Cairo,
Okay.
in Egypt, but it's Kemet. It goes this for example, it's like you can't erase our history. These people were so raw that they made it where you can't erase the history. So what they did was they in this mountain of rock, they carved these rooms out. And inside these rooms, they told their life story in pictures. And so this book is The Tomb of Amenemhat, and it's from volume 3. And Amenemhat lived in 1981 BC.
Dang.
This was some crazy knowledge in here.
That's back grappling, my boy.
Yeah.
You know, it's crazy. I was born in 1981 AD.
See what I'm saying?
Crazy.
1981 AD.
What?
1981 BC. Crazy, right? Mirror times. And so this guy, his main walls, his whole goal, he helped another leader maintain his space. But his goal was to go beyond that and to unify Upper and Lower Nile. The other was from Elephantine, which is when you first come in from Nubia, you go around the bend, and now you're in Kemet. So that was a territorial fault line right there. And so the Nubians were tough because they ran it. So it just was a situation where he, with his wrestling skills, went down there and got on boats and stuff and made a peace. And then he took a woman that was revered in the Lower Nile, and one that was revered in the Upper Nile, and he in his statue has those two women with him representing his goal of uniting the Nile. You know what I mean? And so he has some stuff in there. Even as an educator, I looked at it and he was like, in my times, no widow was oppressed. No child was this. And then it was like a whole thing. It's on his wall. It's on the walls in there. And one of the things it says, no man had to go to work, you know what I mean? And compulsory. And I was like, where do I hear that word, compulsory? And I was like, oh, our educational system is compulsory. So what he said wasn't for any man, we do to our children. Compulsory education. You know what I mean? So it just was game in there, and it was just thick and it was deep. So, I just studied all of that. And, I had in my gift myself. It's like what I said is, you remember in sports, you see what time they were made, these sports, but the wrestling was hidden. It was hidden behind, when you said wrestling, it was big time wrestling, with the rings.
Yeah.
WWF.
WWF and WWE. So they took the word and applied it to something else.
Yeah.
Circus fighting, right?
Yeah.
So then with MMA, all of that, all of a sudden, these people that weren't even doing it for material reasons, these people were doing it because once you did it, your body remembered.
Yeah.
Your DNA. So you were addicted because your body remembered. That's just like somebody that was addicted to dope or something, and their parents, and then you start doing it. Hey, you can get addicted faster because your body remembers. And so we just did it for that reason. So then when MMA came, then all these wrestlers kind of pulled out wrestling was the biggest winner.
Yeah, wrestling became it was crazy how quick American wrestling became a thing, then Russian wrestling, they got this one guy, I'm blanking on his name right now. I don't want to butcher his name. I think he does a little bit of Mongolian wrestling. You know what I'm saying? I was just looking at the thing. If you look on what's that thing called? On Disney, if you have Disney Plus, they have National Geographic, and in National Geographic, in their section, they have a whole documentary on Genghis Khan, and they have a whole section where I was thinking about you, where There was some dude who they thought wasn't being loyal, and they had to have this meeting. So they had like one of his brothers wrestle the other chief, and he slammed him. Mongolian wrestling is known to be super rough. He slammed this dude on purpose on his neck so he wouldn't live. And it was just weird that like that's how it was. Like everybody knew once he wrestled him, he was gonna slam this dude on his head. So it was like I was like, yo,
You can imagine if
like wrestling has changed, has altered history.
Yeah, imagine you can resolve issues this way without killing and assassinating. You
The
know,
other
like,
person.
there's a place in Chechnya, in Russia, where they had their own president in the USSR, and the thing is, in Chechnya, it's one of the areas where they're fighting Dagestan.
It's intense.
Yeah, and so his father, the president now, his father was they found out where he was with his phone, and they killed him on the spot, and he turned that to a wrestling room, and so
Oh,
some of the
really?
yeah, so Saitiev and some of the biggest
Wow.
names in wrestling. Russia is great in wrestling, but 9 out of the 10 of them come from the same area of Chechnya and Dagestan.
Pakistan, yo, that area is crazy rugged, bro.
Yeah.
Like I read a book called The Swords of Paradise, and it explained that in the history of that area, that Caucasus Mountain region, that they have never been conquered. And he went through history, people from India, different people from China, they all tried to get there and conquer that area. Nah. And in one part of the book, it explained that when one particular king had sent his army, that it was the women who fought and killed all of the army that showed up, as kind of a thing like, well, if the women are killing all of you, don't let the men come outside. You know what I'm saying? Like,
No,
it's
really.
crazy up there, bro.
Yeah. No. They had a lot of they had Mongolia had this woman that, she was a wrestler, and she was they have a statue of her and stuff. And then there was this Mongolian lady that just won the world championships, and they was like, is she a reincarnation of her? That's
Oh
what.
yeah, you know what I'm saying? It's crazy.
So yeah, it's women wrestling, the fastest growing sport in the world. It's like,
It's crazy how fast it's growing, man. And
yeah,
even jujitsu, at my jujitsu school, some of the best kids are always the girls, always the girls, like crazy dangerous, don't even have all their teeth yet. But you know what I'm saying? They know how to throw people and break arms. It's nuts. But
we
it
had two of them here.
for real, right?
But
Oh, here's a question, real
yeah,
quick. I want Ragwan, what did you guys do last night? You guys showed a movie, and talk about these so more people can come out. I didn't want that to be left out.
It was 2 nights ago, Friday night. Like I said, we try to do monthly community events. One of our events is movie nights, and it just so happened, again, like divinely timed. We started our wrestling program today, but we kind of soft launched it on Friday with black belt ceremonies, and then the movie Dungal. I'm probably not saying it right because you have to say it just right. But it was the highest grossing film in India when it came out in 2016. It's the true story of a wrestler who's a father who wanted to train his sons to become champion wrestlers, but he had no sons, and but he had daughters, and he trained his daughters, and they became champions. And
That's off the chain.
that same family is still dominating in the Olympics for India today. But it broke down cultural barriers and just blew up girls wrestling in India and around the world. And
That's so fantastic, man. I love stuff like that.
yeah. It's spelled Dangal, but if you mispronounce it, it's like Dungal. And if you
Okay.
pronounce it, you can go to anytime I see like Indians owning a gas station or anything, I hit them with it. If I say it right, they all get it. If you say it wrong, they were like, first of all,
What are you talking about?
yeah, what are you talking about? Because I'm expecting you to say some American stuff. I'm not expecting you to say something from our culture.
that happened.
Yeah.
One of the students, he was an old student, came back, wasn't expecting to show up. The Indian family, I told the mom, "Oh yeah, we showed Dangal." She's like, "I don't know what that."
What?
And I'm like, "Yeah, well, it's about the wrestler." She's like, "Oh, Dangal."
The real way to say it.
And then she had some crazy fact about that movie that we didn't know about. So
That's hilarious.
Yeah, because it's their number one movie ever. in the history of their industry.
I gotta see it, man. I gotta see it.
It's good too. I mean, it's long. It's like over 2.5 hours long. It says like 2 hours and 40 minutes. But I mean, the people that came, it's a good movie. They stayed till the end. You
Yeah.
know, it's got great music. You know, it has that vibe of like this is a really bad comparison looking back, but you know how like how popular Karate Kid was when it
Yeah,
came.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
It has that
That
type
kind
of
of-
like vibe of like, oh, now I want to start wrestling.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Gives you
No, that's great.
His daughter was telling me, uh, how old is she?
7.
7. She was going during the movie. She was like, "Did the one in blue? Did she win that? Did she win that?" And then she was like, "Cause I'm gonna be a champion. I'm gonna be a champion." She was. They were in it.
I
And
love it.
two of the girls that came today,
Yeah.
they watched that whole movie. They did not leave. They were there. So they came today, and one of them wrestles at the school, Menlo Atherton down there. And so, hey, it did its job. It got in there. It's
Yeah, no, that's beautiful. That's beautiful.
And also too, like the whole timing of it is crazy because like we have these two events. We had Friday night, which was the movie night, and then we're gonna do another event next Friday, which will be like a live band cipher jam.
Okay.
And I didn't know this, but we're right around the time of the Comedic New Year, so
Right, right, right.
September 11th, and then there's a 5-day festival that Mariana, you probably know more about it than I do, but it just was wild that the timing like naturally happened that that all this
we're
stuff
in the
was coming
middle
together.
of it. It's like they when they followed how long it takes for the Sirius to go on top of the Nile and cause a
Right.
flood, and then they counted the days.
Yeah.
So this year, September 11th is 6267.
Okay.
Happened the year 6267, and so they had 12 months 30 each, which equals 360, and then there's 5 days of celebration days between that, so like they call it the 13th month. And right now, as we're having this event, we are in that 5 days.
Oh, that's deep. That's cool.
It's a really powerful alignment when, Sirius dances with the Nile. And if you know anything about African culture and history and just,
Dogon.
throughout time, the Nile is a representation of our harvest. And when the Nile is high, that's what we celebrate. Like that is a tradition. So when you look at ancient intelligence and all the alignment between the cosmos, between the earth, between nature, and how it sustains us, that is something to celebrate. And so a lot of the times, people they'll stop the conversation at like, what's your sign? But when you go beyond, right, just what where the sun was when you were born, and you realize like, wow, like these ancient people read the stars, calculated the stars,
Yeah.
holy and sacred monuments still in alignment with the stars while they were playing with the Pythagorean theory and
Yeah, exactly.
high, thousands of years later, there are structures that are in alignment with that. So that really swings in with that concept of festivals and joy being a part of community, because it's where we create bonds, it's where families represent themselves, it's where we share the fruit of our harvest, and also too the energy that we emit to our communities, to our nation, to our people. It allows us the tradition of legacy to be carried on. So a lot of the times people don't want to carry the tradition of discipline, right? But when you marry discipline with joy, right, like we do our work and we have our fun, and then we, that resonation of that celebration is so strong, it's like I have something to look forward to, right?
Yeah.
So the birthing of the alignment. And also too, I wanted to add in, there was something that you were speaking about in terms of reincarnation and that concept in ancient intelligence as well. A really beautiful way to simplify that for people who might be grappling with the idea. You see how I did that there?
Crap.
Grappling with the idea of reincarnation, maybe because of their specific faith walks. The idea of reincarnation is simply honoring spiritual legacy returned through a physical form. And so, anytime that we see a season come and go, anytime we see a harvest come and go, anytime we see a life come and go, yes, we have the discipline and the structure and the tradition and the order in place to honor that legacy. But in unison, we also celebrate it and we uplift it with joy. And I think that, to bring it full circle back to this collective and how we were able to work with young people, is that yes, their structure and discipline is required, but when we don't have these degrees of hierarchy and we honor the expertise and the ancient wisdom that's in each of us, we can come together joyfully. So you can have discipline and joy. You can have structure and fluidity. You can
Yeah.
have, a respect and honor for those who are teaching you, your ancestors, your elders, but you can also have the youthfulness and the creativity. It takes all of that for us to carry on, that ancient intelligence into this new world. And that's why I call myself, even when I was emceeing heavier, my name, Miss Mariana, the New World Daughter. And I think at the time when I started claiming that as like a way to identify myself as an MC and as an artist, I don't think I understood the heaviness of it. I'm sure you guys are all poets, and sometimes you're speaking to your future self. And so, I'll be on the mic repping Miss Mariana, the New World Daughter. And now it makes so much a difference after just having my 46th birthday. I was like, girl, you was setting yourself up for some destiny work.
Oh,
But
yeah.
yeah, the alignment of the mighty Sirius star and the swelling of Mother Earth and the Nile is like a very beautiful and powerful time of year for many, many ancients, along the way.
Feel it here.
Yeah.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
could feel that. When you just said that, when you said you just turned 46, and my mother, who was a fighter, she was born in 1946. So
Mm,
Mike was feeling that right there too.
yeah. Yeah.
Well, thank you guys for being on Bishop Chronicles. Starting with Rahman, then Carlos, then Mariana. Give your socials and tell people how to get a hold of you.
All right. My personal Rahman Jamal, spelled RahmanJamal. That's on social. You can also follow Afro Bushido Academy, Afro, AFRO, Bushido, BUSHIDO Academy, ACADEMY. That's on Instagram, Facebook. If it's Twitter, it's Afro Bushido Dojo. And I didn't say the address of the spot at the beginning, so I'll say it now: 2699 Spring Street in Redwood City. Um, yeah,
Beautiful.
there.
Carlos.
Okay, so I'm at Levexier Live Work on Instagram. And
Turn around so they can spell that because they're gonna struggle.
okay, I'm turning around one time.
Bam.
Yes. Vexier, live, work. There you
Right. Levexier, Levexier, as you saw. So yeah, so I'm at Levexier Live Work. We're gonna do some more social media under Serious MMA
Nice.
from that star SIRIUS.
Yeah.
I do also under Scholar Wrestling,
Okay.
and then under Carlos Levexier.
Oh, that's great. That's great.
Yeah. And so for anybody that wants to get in contact with me in terms of facilitating, may that be keynotes, workshops, trainings for your students, your staff, community organizations, you can reach me at missmariana.today. That's MISSMARIANNA.today. And you can also go there and get to all my social medias and platforms from there as well.
Cool. Well, thank you all for being a part of Bishop Chronicles. And I can't wait till the next camp. Cannot wait till the next camp. That was awesome.
Yep. We're gonna build on this one. And yeah, we got that relationship set with their organization. And now we're making a lot of relationships with the local schools in this area too. So sorry, there's a lot of noise happening right
That's
outside.
cool. I can't hear. It's not coming up. It's cool.
But yeah, so Los and I have been hitting the pavement like hardcore with the with the local schools and other organizations, and we're really trying to build a transformational legacy here, starting in this local neighborhood. And it's just amazing how this was all catalyzed with, us being able to come together.
Yeah.
So I thank each and every one of you, and Pop Tart, and you should follow the struttersroom.com.
Shout out to Pop Tart. Yeah, follow the Strutters Room on IG. The Strutters Room.
The Strutters Room _official.
Official. All right. All right, y'all. One love.
All right.
Hey, I'm honored to be on the camera and on events with all of you and
Yeah.
with my guy, Lonnie Green. Thank you.
Great. Shout out to Lonnie. One love. One love.
For sure.
All right, y'all. Have a good night.